So picture this: you're playing Citra, a game like New Super Mario Bros. 2, a 2D game, or it's a key element here, 2D game, and you decide to upscale it. And you notice Mario looks really nice, but what's up with the blocks and the terrain and the land? Well, today I'm going to give an in-depth look on how upscaling works and on why it doesn't work with 2D objects. Have you ever seen a picture, or not a picture, but have you ever had a retro console like an SNES, and you decide to plug it into a 4K monitor and notice how it doesn't really look that good as it used to? Because upscaling is meant solely for upscaling 3D images. 3D, not 3D images, 3D things in general. You see, you can plug an Xbox 360 into a 4K monitor and have it look really nice. Have the games look really old because these games are 3D. 4K is meant to upscale 3D, not 2D. See, if you want to upscale 2D, well, take the textures for example here. You have to go in depth, or not in depth. You have to go and individually upscale each texture. You know, something that 4K really is not meant to do by itself. But that's why things like Mario look so good, because he and the Goombas and some blocks look really good because they're all 3D. They're not 2D. Again, the 2D thing is literally just an image. If you want to upscale that yourself, well, if you want to upscale that yourself, what you would have to do is essentially go in and literally want to do what I said, upscale it yourself. You have to go into do every texture by yourself. And people have done this before. People have gone over and upscaled individual textures, but upscaling a game or a window as a whole during emulation won't fix the problem. You have to go in each texture and do it by yourself. And there's nothing that sophisticated that can do it on its own without the help of a person. If you want to upscale everything yourself, well, you can do that, but you'd have to find a way to go into the game's configuration files and go into the game's texture files in general, find out where they are, find a way to upscale them, bring the resolutions up so this way they don't look so fuzzy. That's why I really gotta think, should I upscale games like New Super Mario Bros. 2 if I'm using them on Citra? Because most of the things in the game are 2D, you know. There's a few things that are 3D, such as the monsters themselves, or not the monsters, the enemies, Mario, some signs here and there. The POW blocks are also 3D. There's a few other things that are 3D, but for the most part, everything you're going to see, the majority of what you're going to see is 2D. And actually, if you were to play it fully upscaled by 10 times, which is how I play it, a lot of these imperfections in the blocks are going to be brought out more. For instance, whenever I played in by 10 times resolution, I would always see these lines going in between the blocks, or these lines going through the blocks. It just looked really bad. So essentially what you have to do is think, should I upscale it at all or not, or just play it in the normal resolution? And the thing is, if you play in the normal resolution, everything's jagged, but these imperfections in the blocks are shown much less. They're not shown as well. There's barely any imperfections. The game looks normal, you know? And the thing is, the 3DS does two things to hide this. It A, runs the game in a lower resolution, but B, you're also seeing this on a smaller screen, so it's much harder to see imperfections. That's why a lot of people will run games on their lowest settings if they have like small, tiny laptops. Like, say the GPD Win 2. A lot of people run games like Black Ops 2, games it's more than capable of running. They'll run games on their lowest settings because they want to get a bigger frame rate out, and also you're not going to mind the bad textures on a really small screen. You know, you're not going to mind bad textures on a game on a screen the size of a 3DS, and you're going to notice them a lot less, and just things aren't really like as drawn out. You know, as opposed to a big screen, they're right up in your face. So if you have this big, ugly-looking game, it's going to be right up in your face. But on a small screen, it looks just fine. And take a look at a game like Super Mario 3D World, and notice how that is all, the game looks really nice when it's upscaled, because everything in that game is 3D. There's no 2D element to it. Everything in that game is 3D. Everything is solely 3D. Anything that is 2D, such as the cardboard or the wooden stands for like the one-ups, the fake wood one-ups, they're all actually 3D, of course. So therefore, everything looks just proper. It looks right. Take a game like Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. Again, that game's entirely 3D. It's 3D in the name. So it will run, or not run, but it will look a lot better when upscaled, because that's how you're supposed to properly upscale things, you know? This is upscaling. Basically, when you upscale 2D, a 2D image or 2D thing in a game is literally just like a picture. If you don't upscale it right, it's going to come out really bad, you know? And 3D things can be upscaled much more easily than 2D things, because when it comes to 2D, you can see each individual pixel, but 3D things, the pixels are always changing, you know? But that's why old games like NES games that haven't, or games that are on like the original NES, haven't been properly upscaled. So Therefore, they end up looking just really sloppy, the game doesn't look as good as it normally would. And again, taking the 3DS's resolution into mind, or a small screen's resolution, if you play these games on their original intended screen, or the original intended screen size, they'll look much better because that's how they're meant to be played. You know? New Super Mario Bros. 2 was never meant to be upscaled. No game on the 3DS was ever meant to be upscaled, but can they? Yes. Again, upscaling a game is like plugging an old console like a PS3 and Xbox 360 into a 4K TV. You know, it's going to look good if the games are 3D. If the games have mostly 2D aspects in them, then the game's not going to look good at all. It's going to look like crap, and all these imperfections in the 2D is going to be brought out so much more and so much worse.